My opponent says that if your friend or family is in a life-threatening situation and they are calling you for help, so you have to pick up the phone, therefore having a ban on calling while driving would not be needed because of certain emergencies. But we disagree, because if that friend or family member were in a life-threatening situation, the first person they call should be 911. Therefore, a ban would still help immensely. Plus, if you witness a crash, you must stop anyways to give information to the police about the crash. And then if 911 is not already sending cars on their way to help, then you should call at that point. My opponents also say that 100% of the people they asked agreed to using their phone while driving at one point in their life. However, just because they have done it does not mean that it's safe. They are putting themselves at risk for disaster. They were lucky enough to not be in a crash, but it could very well happen. Imagine if they did get into an accident. That would affect many people in their lives. Everyone who knew them, either through school, sports, music, or other things, would be devastated. No one wants to face a loss like that, so you should definitely choose to stay safe by not calling and driving. My opponent also says that you would need to ban all distractions such as singing or talking, and to ban calling too, but we feel that it can work to ban calling only. And we recognize calling while driving and other distractions as unsafe. And if bans on different factors of distracted driving, such as they mentioned, singing and chatting to passengers while driving step by step, then Iowa's roads will soon become a completely safe area to drive on. The state of Iowa has already banned texting while driving, so why not make calling while driving banned as well? The intent of driving is for you to focus directly on getting from one place to another. It is not a safe place to be calling others. After all, driving is called driving, not calling and driving.
Our opponents say that phone calls cause car crashes, but we disagree. As stated by Hema earlier, less than 1% of car crashes are actually caused by phone calls. The crash is caused by phone use. If the crash is caused by phone use, it is almost always text messages. 25% of car crashes are because of texting. Even though it is illegal, 47% of people still text and drive, trying to hide it. What does that do? It causes wrecks. By attempting to hide texting while driving, the person is focused more on not getting caught and less on the road ahead of them and driving in a safer manner. In Iowa's current state, people are able to make and receive urgent phone calls on the road, knowing they can be open about what they're doing. Let's not have the texting dilemma repeat itself by banning phone calls. Another point is that adjusting and listening to the radio actually increases crash risk by 2.8 times, whereas talking via Bluetooth or in-car phone systems increases it much less. We are completely ignoring the fact that radios have a bigger part in car crashes. Our opponent has also stated that talking on the phone is a distraction. In our eyes, this is not true for the following reason. Just because talking on phones may be considered as a distraction doesn't mean there aren't other solutions. One of the most common solutions people think of is using Bluetooth, a wireless earpiece that's connected to your phone so you can talk hands-free. Bluetooth is an easy and safe way to communicate with others while on the road instead of having to find somewhere to pull over every single time you are trying to make or receive a call. It is ultimately up to the driver on whether or not they choose to talk on the phone while driving. Most eligible drivers have had years of experience with driving and talking to passengers, so why shouldn't they be able to continue talking while driving, the only difference being how the person they're conversing with is informed of the information, either through a phone speaker or face-to-face communication. In short, it's overall the same thing, and nobody is outlawing talking to car passengers, are they? Our opponent also stated that they could get directions ahead of time by printing out, but even taking your eyes off the road to look at a printed sheet of paper with directions could have the same effect as dialing, and maybe even more. Phones today have Siri to help you out with dialing, and we need to only stop thinking about the obvious thing here and really think deeper about the issue. We ask you to take a look at our side.
We believe that Iowa drivers should no longer be able to talk on the phone while driving, which has been proven by the evidence we have given you. The first argument we presented to you was that drivers who are distracted by talking on the phone are causing more accidents and raising mortality rates. The second piece of evidence that was stated was that talking on the phone while driving can take up to 37% of your attention away from the task at hand. The final piece of evidence we have given you was that the issue of talking on the phone while driving can be solved by a few simple steps, such as putting your phone out of reach and on silent before you start driving. We would also like to bring to your attention that 14 states have already put a ban on handheld cell phone use while driving, according to Governor's Highway Safety Association. These 14 states have already banned calling and driving, and it's time for Iowa to do so as well. Grand Forks Herald did a study and compared the crash rates caused by phone use from the 2 years before and 2 years after the calling while driving ban was put into place, and found a 47% decrease in the crash rate. So, next time you consider calling while driving, think to yourself, is one call really worth your life?
The points that we have made and proved to you today show that banning Iowa drivers from talking on the phone will only do more harm than good. Phones are a major method of communication, and when used safely and with caution, they can save people's lives and futures. Banning phone calls on the road would cause confusion and even rebellious actions, which would just end up endangering others anyway. Besides, as they mentioned, other states have already tried it, and what they did not mention is that it's D.C. that the decline went down. The other states showed no significant change. The numbers don't lie. Prohibiting Iowa drivers from attending phone calls would not be a smart thing to do. Our opponents say that phones are taking lives, but if you really think about it, they're saving just as many. Is it really worth putting people's lives, futures, money, and happiness on the line for an unreliable law that most likely won't make us any safer?